members. So my name is Kristen Mussolino, and I'm an IIQTC senior trainer. And I'm also a co-producer for this training. So one thing I'll be doing for you now is doing just a brief hello welcome. We are going to be recorded tonight, as you know now, because this is also going to be shared for folks who are thinking about registering for this training or who have already registered themselves. So, and I want to get right to the juicy part, which is to meet our faculty team and kind of get into this energy together of getting to know each other and learning about IIQTC. So just briefly tech-wise, as we're all very much know about Zoom today, we'd appreciate if you would stay muted, and I will be muting you, during the presentation portions. But during the Q&A, we'll have the chats opened. We'll have you'll be able to participate and answer your big questions. So on that note, the way we would prefer for everyone to answer is to use our reaction button. So the reaction button is on the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, which is where all your Zoom functions are, the most pertinent ones. And the reaction button for me today, because Zoom changes all the time, is a little heart. And if I go to there, I can press that button and I have a function to raise my hand. And once you raise your hand, you kind of scoot to the front of everyone in the gallery view. And then we'll be able to answer your question. And so speaking of that, to switch views, you go into the upper right-hand corner to the little view button. It should say view. And you can toggle between speaker, where the spotlighted person will be, and gallery, where we will all be together. To change any of your settings, you go to the microphone icon or video icon in the bottom screen, but I think we all pretty much know that. And yeah, so welcome again. And to officially welcome us today, I'm going to bring in our founder of the Integral Institute of Qigong and Tai Chi, our Dr. Roger Yanka. So take it away.
Thank you, Kristen. And thank you everyone for being here. And we are so excited about moving on to Tai Chi with you. And for the people who are not here live, who are probably going to be looking at this video and maybe even not having a whole lot of time to do so, let me just say a couple of practical things right away. And that is that the less expensive registration will expire on August 19th, I think it is. And that's the same with the payment plan. So we're going to introduce all of the faculty and have a rousing experience here. But in case you don't have a lot of time to go through all of that, just know that that boundary is in play. And then in addition to that, to think for a moment about some of the most interesting things that we've ever learned about Tai Chi. One is that back a number of years ago, we participated in what was called the National Expert Meeting on Qigong and Tai Chi, wherein one of the big questions was relative to our respect for the traditions of China and Qigong in China. One of the questions was, is it reasonable to make Tai Chi easy and more accessible? And so there were researchers there, and there were traditional Chinese teachers there, and there were institutions that serve large populations there. And basically the answer to that question was yes, make Tai Chi more accessible so that people can, without straining, learn enough Tai Chi to become, shall we say, oriented enough to move to, can we call it Tai Chi hard? And so that was like a huge breakthrough here in the Western world. And one of the other things that happened right around that same time is that the Veterans Administration began the process of determining whether to make Tai Chi one of the most important things that are done in the Veterans Whole Health Program. And that consensus report from that national expert meeting played a large part in the Veterans Administration deciding to have Tai Chi be one of the 6 primary integrative health or self-healing, or whatever you want to call it, self-care methodologies that are part of the whole health program for the VA. So finally, just in the same vein, the amount of research that's being done on Tai Chi that's being funded on Tai Chi is increasing. Like for decades, the amount of funding was going lateral. It was present, but it was lateral. And then around 2005, 7, it just goes shooting up. And so we now know that Tai Chi is, shall we say, one of the primary methodologies, along with yoga, mindfulness, and a few other things that are being recognized in our society as how to go about lowering the burden of chronic disease, which allows for the reallocation of billions of dollars to other kinds of activities like infrastructure, fixing bridges, putting recess back in school, musical classes back in school. So it's a very profound moment for Tai Chi. Tai Chi is now in the common language of our society, and the magnitude, numbers of people who are involved or interested is rising quickly, and the need for teachers who are familiar with Qigong and Tai Chi is rising. And one of the most interesting things that we've ever learned is that, this is a quote from, I forget who said it in one of our trainings, they come for the Tai Chi, but they stay for the Qigong. And what's interesting about that is that they come for Tai Chi because that's what they've heard of. But then once they get exposed to Qigong and Tai Chi, what happens is that people tend to learn the Qigong is a little more accessible, but also that Tai Chi has the unique quality of supporting brain plasticity, brain plasticity being the secret to longevity in terms of coordination and cognitive capacity. So with that rah-rah type introduction, which is basically a very warm invitation from me to you to join us for this training. Now I'm going to ring this gong. You're familiar with ringing the gong. So we always want to be, shall we say, conscious of the idea of reaching the conclusion that there's value in calming down and presencing. And so let's do this. I'll ring the gong 3 times. Bring yourself to presence, and then I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia, one of our key faculty.
Original sound is off.
Boo! I'm so sorry to waste that time in the timeless. Remember the three treasures: posture, breath, and mind. And then to Cynthia, thanks for your support on the sound.
Unmute. All righty. Yes, you're welcome, Roger. I didn't want those beautiful sound vibrations to go to waste because I am also, among many other things, a sound healer. So my name is Cynthia Woolston Mountainfort, and I have over 30 years of experience in the healing arts. That includes yoga. I have a 700 hours teacher certification in yoga and Qigong and Tai Chi. I have studied with a variety of teachers, including teachers in China. And I have over several thousand hours of teaching experience, both in person and on Zoom. Chronic health issues are what brought me to the practices. And I knew that daily practice was necessary for the practices to really have an effect. But I also knew that I wasn't sure that I would be able to stick to it on my own. So that is why I started the teacher path. I also knew that if you really want to learn something, teach it. You have to turn things around and they become part of you. Becoming a teacher was a way for me to help me and many others along the way. I'm so excited to be here with this illustrative team. We have such wonderful people on our team and great assistants. And I'm especially excited to share the practices of Tai Chi. As Roger said, people come for Tai Chi, they stay for Qigong, but then they realize, maybe like I have, that it really helps neuroplasticity. And I want to keep my neuroplasticity very healthy, as well as my body as I age. Aging well, living well. This training is going to be a lot of fun, informative. We're going to take a deeper dive into Tai Chi and the integral principles and forms. So I hope you join us and let us help us activate your Chi so we can send it all out. Thank you. And I'm passing it over to Oli.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oli Smith. I'm coming to you from Durango, Colorado. It's nice to see several familiar faces from previous trainings. So some of you probably know a little bit about me already since we've worked together. But so yeah, I'm here in Durango, Colorado. Chinese medicine is my background. I had a pretty transformative experience with acupuncture when I was 11 years old. I took my first Tai Chi class when I was 13, and I've kind of been way deep into this since then. Yeah, been here in Durango practicing Chinese medicine for about 20 years, and just recently received my doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. So I'm still continuing to go deeper, just because it's you can't drink the ocean, you can just swim in it, and Qigong and Tai Chi is, I think, an essential part of any kind of healthcare program. I have clients who I have encouraged to take Qigong and Tai Chi classes, and they're kind of, resistant at first. They're like, no, I like coming in for treatments. I don't know about that. And then they start coming to the classes, and then they don't come in for treatments anymore. And they'll say, like, I'll miss a doctor's appointment before I miss a Qigong or a Tai Chi class. So I think that just speaks to the power of this methodology. And, I had been practicing and teaching Tai Chi and Qigong for a while before I came across the IIQTC. But what really, drew me to this institute and what keeps me here is this teaching methodology that is presented through the curriculum. And so some of you may already be familiar with the Qigong teaching methodology. With the Tai Chi teaching methodology, it's, it kind of goes even further. And for people who are, Tai Chiists, like Tai Chi Chuan, that's their thing, more than Qigong. I've heard them say after going through this training, they're still teaching Tai Chi Chuan. It's not necessarily integral Tai Chi or anything like that, but they're teaching it through this teaching methodology because it is so effective and it's so straightforward and it makes it so accessible to so many different types of people. So really, I feel like that's what I'm excited about sharing, with everyone. I mean, I'm excited about just talking about Chinese medicine and Qigong and Tai Chi just in general to, you know, the random stranger walking down the street, but to kind of go that much further into it in this setting, in this format, and share this curriculum is something that I just get excited about. And it brings me joy because I know that it's good for me to do, it's good for people to learn, and those people who learn it are going to be able to take it out into the world and share with other people, which is then good for the rest of the universe, which, you know, I mean, who's not into that? So that's what I have to say about that. And now I'll pass it on to Jen.
Well, amen to all that. Preach it, Oli. And my name is Jennifer Weiss. I am a co-producer as well as on faculty for this training. And in addition to teaching Qigong and Tai Chi, I'm a wellness coach and an educator. Most recently, I've been developing a curriculum to make it easy for teachers and parents to share Qigong with their students and children. And for all the reasons that we've already heard, I am super passionate about all of this and deeply committed on many, many levels. I've always been fascinated with consciousness, well-being, health, and I've experimented and experienced a number of somatic therapies and modalities throughout my whole life. I was always fascinated with the mind-body connection. And it wasn't until Qigong and Tai Chi that I found something that what to me struck the most important note of all, which is this awakening of the individual to their own healing capabilities. And for someone to take that step is an incredibly powerful journey. So for me, empowering others, teaching others to take that step is one of the most rewarding ways that I spend my time. So I'm super excited to be here and be a part of this amazing team. If you're already signed up, congratulations. In my personal practice, I found that Tai Chi is a perfect complement to Qigong. They just work together very well. I usually teach both in every class I teach. Sometimes it's just one or the other, but there's always this undergirding of the Qigong state with the Tai Chi. And so if you're not already signed up, I encourage you to really consider taking this leap of faith or taking this next step and joining us on the journey. And with that, I will turn it back to Oli.
Back again. All right, so I did just want to take a couple minutes and go through a little bit, I guess just some information. I think a common question that comes up a lot is, you know, what's the difference between Qigong and Tai Chi? And if you've taken level 1 and you're oriented to Qigong and you're considering level 2, again, it's kind of like, well, so what's what? How can we talk about it? So this is what I want to share with you. We have a little slide presentation to go along with that. It's very short. And that'll come up in a moment, and then we can go through it. Great. So this first thing that we're looking at, this is actually known as the Taiji 2, which means the map of the supreme ultimate. And so even before we get into Tai Chi Chuan and any kind of forms like, you know, integral Tai Chi, the Yang style, the Chen style, the Song style, the Wu style, however, it's like, you know, Tai Chi is this that we're looking at. It's about balance and harmony. It's the dynamics of yin and yang interacting with each other. And again, finding that balance. And Tai Chi is the form. Tai Chi is really just an embodiment of this. And so whether that looks like a specific form or whether that's just a way of being in the world, like this here is Tai Chi. And so it's a good place to start with. And when we think about the forms being an embodiment of Tai Chi, you know, there's aspects of the forms that are curved, and there's aspects that are straight, and there's aspects that move out, and there's aspects that move in. And it's about cultivating an awareness of all of those different dynamics and how to find balance and harmony within all of them. And so then moving on to the next slide, we have, you know, what are the similarities between Tai Chi and Qigong first? So they're both a moving meditation. They both allow us to cultivate stillness within action or activity. They both stretch and strengthen the musculoskeletal system. They both tone the cardiovascular system and the nervous system, I would add, and even the immune system, digestive system, like all the systems. They strengthen, they stretch, they tone them. That's what both of these things do. They're both personal cultivation practices, and they both lead to expanded states of awareness, or Qigong states. And then going into things that are specific about Qigong in the next slide, Qigong is typically non-sequential, meaning that you could do one move, like say flowing motion, you could do that forever, for as long as you want. More often than not, and again, with all of these, it's, most of the time, but of course there's always exceptions to the rule. But, Qigong generally is non-sequential. There's not an order. There's not a how many times you do certain things. Both hands are generally doing the same thing. We're often standing in place. And the Qigong benefit really comes from this relaxation response. And, that's how we get the telomere rehabilitation. And that's how we calm the sympathetic nervous system and stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. Things like this. It's really thought of as a self-care and a healing practice. And then when we think about the specifics of Tai Chi, on the next slide, Tai Chi, the forms traditionally are sequential. Like you might do a movement, say 3 times, and then you move to the next side. And then, you go on like this. Often one hand is doing one thing while the other hand is doing something else. Generally with Tai Chi forms, you're walking. And rather than being calming to the nervous system, it's a little more challenging to the nervous system. And that's how we get that neuroplasticity enhancement. We're challenging the nervous system. We're figuring out new ways to get from point A to point B. It's novel movement. It challenges the memory. It's cognitively challenging, physically challenging even. And historically, Tai Chi is often thought of as a martial art, for self-defense, things like this. So these are some of the differences between Tai Chi and Qigong. Again, just a brief recap. It's like Qigong is non-sequential. Tai Chi is sequential. Both hands doing the same thing as opposed to one hand doing one thing, the other doing something else. Tai Chi, we're walking. Qigong, we're standing in place. Qigong's more calming. Tai Chi is a little more stimulating. And then we have this integral Tai Chi, which is really the focus of what we teach here at the IIQTC. And so integral Tai Chi, we can also even think of it as Tai Chi as Qigong. And so integral Tai Chi is also non-sequential. However, often one hand is doing one thing while the other hand does something else. We can do integral Tai Chi sitting down. We can do it standing in place. We can do it standing in place while shifting our weight from side to side. We can do it while walking. And because we have bits of Qigong and bits of Tai Chi, we are enhancing neuroplasticity. We're introducing novelty to the system. It can be a little bit challenging to the nervous system, but at the same time, it also allows us to tap into that relaxation response, to get that telomere rehabilitation, to lower the blood pressure, to calm the fight or flight sympathetic nervous system response. It's kind of taking the best of both worlds, of the Qigong world and the Tai Chi world, and fusing them together. And so you can make integral Tai Chi very much a Qigong type practice. And you can make integral Tai Chi very much like a traditional Tai Chi type practice. It really gives you a very broad spectrum to interact with. And that makes it very accessible for a lot of different types of populations. So some populations may do better with a sitting down Qigong style of Tai Chi, and other populations might do better with a walking, more traditional style Tai Chi form. This gives you access to all of that. And again, just to reiterate what I was mentioning earlier, it's not only that there are these forms, there's also a teaching methodology, a way of presenting this form to people in a way that really allows them to get it in a short amount of time, to really feel it in their bodies so that then they have it for the rest of their lives. And that is really, I think, one of the great offerings of this level 2 program, is not only the integral Tai Chi form itself, the method itself, but the teaching method that goes along with it. So, so there's that about that. And now I'll pass it on to Jennifer.
Thank you, Oli. So we're actually going to get into practicing now. So I invite you to make your way to a standing position, or you're welcome to do this seated. I'll make my way and meet you over there. So let's stand with our feet together, aligning. You are welcome to do a sigh of relief or two. Always nice to give the body a chance to just let go of anything it's holding. And then shift the weight to either side. Step out and open. And inviting the treasure of the mind to turn its attention to the treasures of the body and the breath, allowing the hands to float, one to the heart mind center, one to the lower dantian, the hara, and letting the knees soften if they're not already slightly bent, lengthening upward, rooting downward, finding space in the body, inviting your breath to become light, slow, deep and relaxed. Perhaps you make a slight motion of nodding or tucking in your chin a tiny bit, noticing the alignment of your spine with the pelvic bowl. I love the image of that bowl holding the fruit of the organs. So you don't want it too far forward, the fruit will fall out, or too far back, same thing. So inviting that spine to lengthen upward, perfectly emanating from that pelvic bowl. And then bringing your hands together, going into reaching up and out. The hands are lightly clasped, inhaling, exhaling. As the hands travel across the face, they turn, pressing up and stretching out with vertical fingers pushing out on the palms. So now we're widening a lateral space as well. Breathing deep, moving from the center. Hands travel up over the torso, turning out, pressing up and out. This is also called holding up and opening the sky, or supporting heaven. And maybe you go on the balls of your feet on this upward movement, gently coming back down. Breathing deep. And we'll do a variation on these next few ones. It's not often shown. Keeping the hands clasped on this upward motion, keep the feet on the ground, forward fold over, keeping the hands clasped. Letting anything that's not serving you just fall out the top of your head. Release the arms. Moving from the center of the body, start to roll up one piece of the spine at a time. Head and neck last to rise. And we'll do one more. Again, folding forward, letting the head hang heavy. Maybe moving from side to side, hovering over one leg and then the other, releasing the arms. Feeling the chi travel from the lower, mid, to the upper back and head. And starting to come up, each vertebrae stacking perfectly on the one beneath. Head and neck last to rise. Breathing deep. And then shift the weight back. We'll do a simple close. Hands come to abdomen, letting yourself drift. And over to Cynthia now for a little bit of Qigong as Tai Chi.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. That was a beautiful warm up. I feel the chi moving through me. So what we are going to do next is a form called Watching Clouds Pass. This is a traditional movement that you'll see in almost every Tai Chi form because it has so many benefits. We'll be gently twisting, moving the arms, expanding our lung capacity, calming the mind. Sometimes you can even do an eye exercise with this one. So to begin, let's go ahead and set our position. If you'd like, you can also do this sitting. If you're feeling tired, take care of yourself, sit on a chair and go through the same steps of regrounding, feeling the feet, softening the knees, dropping the tail, lengthen the spine, relax the outer body. And maybe, as Jennifer said, bring the chin back just a little bit so that we have that head right on top. So the first thing that we're going to do is actually something called silk reeling. And this is a great way to begin to learn the movement of watching clouds pass. First, and I'm going to use blue for the blue arm and red for the red arm. You can see the colors behind me. So we're just going to let that blue arm float across. It will rise up, perhaps to the mouth or eye level. You want to keep the elbow below the shoulder, goes out and then down. So as it's coming across, it's as if it's drawing up moisture from the earth. That moisture rises like mist, flows across like a cloud, and then floats back down. So the reason this is called silk reeling is that when they take the thread of silk off of the cocoon, they have to do it very meticulously and have a very steady tension and flow, or that very thin thread will break. So that's what we're working for here, is a nice, slow, fluid movement where we can just begin to relax and perhaps start to pay attention to some of our Tai Chi principles. Let's do one more with this hand. And then let's begin with the other hand, flowing across, imagining the water. It's like flowing in water. The waters rise, the clouds pass, the water rains down. You might notice there's a turning of the spine. And when we turn the spine, we want to make sure that we don't turn the knees. The knees are hinge joints. They're not meant to turn. They want to stay in the same direction as the toes. So that's why we keep the knees slightly bent. Turning at the waist also helps expand your peripheral vision as you turn all the way up. Your eyes are wide. They maybe can see what's behind you slightly. And we can also do that eye exercise where you're looking near as that hand comes past your face and then looking far as it goes away. Let's do one more on this side, looking near and then looking far. And just pause and notice how that feels. We didn't pay a lot of attention to the breath, so perhaps you were holding the breath. We didn't pay a lot of attention to our Tai Chi pose, so maybe your posture wasn't ideal during the whole thing, but we did get set up in the beginning. So let's go ahead and start with both hands. Let's bring the blue hand over to the red side as if it had just gathered that moisture. The red hand is on top, but if we want to go to the blue side, it's important that we switch hands so that blue elbow will be leading the way. And all we're going to do is just turn on that Tai Chi pole like we were doing. And perhaps take an inhale as you switch hands. That does a little compression to the internal organs. And then as you exhale and relax, it's like they get a little bit of a massage. And inhaling and just floating the arms past. Calming the mind. Maybe imagine that upper hand like clouds is just taking all those worries and anxieties away. Let them rain down. Nourish yourself with nature, fresh water, good air, healthy eating. Okay, and let's do one more and cross that red arm in front. This is a posture called Embrace Tiger. And when we're holding our arms across like this, we have the sense as if we were holding a tiger and his head was behind us, he wouldn't be able to eat us. So we're safe and strong. And then this is called Return to the Mountain, where we feel stable and our feet are like concrete and roots going deep into the earth or our granite or something. And then we rise up like Mount Everest through the crown of the head. So let's add one more movement to this watching clouds pass. Let's start on the other side. So raising the red arm this time. This time we're going to add a weight shift. So stepping out just a little more with the red foot. Feel your Tai Chi pole now moving over the red side. And then that vertical Tai Chi pole going over the blue side. Beautiful. Another Tai Chi principle is relax. Another Tai Chi principle is, can you sink your feet down and rise through the crown of your head as we're flowing? Another principle is paying attention to that breath. Are you breathing? Notice how you coordinate the breath. I suggested my breathing pattern. You may find something else works better for you, but I like breathing in on the twisting as it compresses, and as I said, gives the internal organs a little massage, and then the exhales, the letting go. We're moving from our center, and the arms are coming along for a ride. Now let's add a little more weight shift. Shifting to the blue side, the arms flow over. Now we almost begin turning the Tai Chi pole before the arms flow, and then they're carried over. Feel that weight shift. Feel the flow from side to side. Checking in with your three treasures, your posture. What is your breath doing? And is your mind present? And perhaps getting a little vacation from all the worries and anxieties that sometimes plague our minds and take us and pull us out of the present moment. What more in these few more moments can you notice about this moment? And that's what makes this a nice meditation as well as a Tai Chi practice. We're doing it like Qigong in a way because we're not moving forward or back, but we are shifting side to side. Let's do one more over to the blue side. One more Embrace Tiger. Nice breath in. Exhale, flowing down. Feel yourself as that mountain. Keep the knees soft. Feel that lift through the crown of the head. And perhaps just drift for a moment, noticing any sensation, any shift in your three treasures. Perhaps the body feels warmer, more circulation. The breath may be slower and deeper. And hopefully the mind a little calmer. One more nice deep breath in. And relax. And you can step the feet together as we close. And then we'll move on to the Q&A portion of our program. So let me sit down here. You can go ahead and mindfully move to your seats. And if anyone has a question, as we were talking earlier, you can use the little reaction. Mine has a little heart too. And as Kristen was saying, just press the little up arrow and you can recognize hand gestures. You can play chimes for raised hands. Oh, there's all sorts of fun things to do. So let's go ahead and begin asking questions. Go ahead and raise your hands. And if you can't find that little reaction button, then go ahead and just raise your hand and we'll scan for you all. It was such a wonderful practice. We're all in such a chi state now where this is what happens. The mind gets so relaxed.
That might be what happened.
Yeah. So we also do want to, if you're thinking about your questions, another thing that we can do is introduce our wonderful assistants.
Yeah, so we actually have a assistant, a lead assistant, and a co-lead. So why don't we bring on our co-lead, Linda Ann? I'll invite you on in, Linda, and just unmute and just share a little bit.
Hi. Yes, hello. It's wonderful to see you. I do recognize some of you too from level 1. I was a co-lead for level 1 last spring. It's nice to see you again, and I'm excited to be a co-lead for level 2 very much. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a retired school teacher. I did that for about 32 years, and I taught Tai Chi and Qigong to my home ec classes, actually, which was a wonderful thing to do and really helped with that adolescent mindset. But in all the time that I was teaching middle school, I was also involved in just my own practices of Tai Chi and had studied with a number of teachers and got certified for Tai Chi for arthritis, etc. And I'm an herbalist and a Reiki practitioner and an end-of-life doula. So I'm kind of a mixed bag of healing arts. And I find that Qigong and Tai Chi are just incredibly helpful in everything I do. I really got excited when I met the IIQTC, and I'm dedicated to their practices, to the way that they teach, to the community they develop, and their mission is, I cannot think of a better mission. So I'm just excited to be here and looking forward to working with all of you and being of assistance in any way I can. And I really encourage you to spread the word and join in. It's well worth it, well worth it. Beautiful combination when you can infuse, some of you did level 1, you know Qigong, and the way it infuses into the Tai Chi movement is just a fantastic blend, as some folks have said. So thank you. It's lovely to meet you, and I'll pass it over to Russ, I guess. Yeah.
All right. Hi, I'm Russ McWhorter, and I see a couple of my friends from level 1 there. Hi, Rose. Hi, Robin. Yeah, that I've been teaching Tai Chi for roughly 10 years, doing Tai Chi for about 20 years. And I felt so seen with what Dr. Yonka and Dr. Smith both had to add there, as far as, just some of the things that they pointed out, that the funding is increasing for Tai Chi. I actually had a healthcare company reach out to me now I do a Zoom class for their oncology patients twice a month. And it wasn't something I wanted to do. I teach 6 other classes a week during the week, but how could I say no to that? And I didn't, all my other classes are in person. It fell right into, and what I learned just fell right into my group exercise programs that I lead. And again, making it more accessible, something they're like, oh, okay, I can get that, because what Oli said then was talking about the guys that teach Tai Chi Chuan. I'm one of them. So I have what I call a full scope program as well, but again, it was the teaching methodology that, you know, I was able to roll out even into that program. And again, I felt like I was just a better teacher because of it. So, you know, come on in, it's a blast. Like I said, the material, I put it to use even before I graduated. I was substituting for a flow-based class, and they loved it because they were able to walk and they helped their balance. So I told you I could get in at 2 minutes.
Okay, so have we any questions yet?
Not seeing any yet, and thank you, Oli, for popping that in the chat. If you want to, feel free to use the chat too, anyone, to drop your question in.
Okay.
Well, you can always inquire to the IIQTC if you have any kind of questions about the registration links and so forth. You should have a number of invitations, of course. And I think it's kind of cool when there aren't any questions, because what it means is that you've got what you need to make the decision. If you are on the fence and not comfortable about saying something about it here, then that's what the invitation to send an email to the IIQTC. You can take any one of those emails that you received announcing this level 2 training, and basically hit the return button, and it will go to the staff at the IIQTC headquarters, and we can answer absolutely every kind of question that you could possibly have.
It looks like we do have 2 questions now, Roger.
Go ahead.
Let's go with Eber. I'll bring you on in. Yeah, Eber. Just kindly unmute yourself.
Okay,
Hey.
there, I'm there. Okay, during the level 1, I found the Qigong absolutely incredible. The way it was taught, the way that the teachers explained everything. I've been doing Tai Chi for over 35 years. I teach it quite a bit. I did karate before that for a number of years, but my interest here is to find out what higher level are we going to be doing in Qigong during level 2? What more are you going to be teaching us in the actual Qigong aspect of the class?
Maybe could you rephrase that question? You said, it sounded like you were asking about the Qigong component of this level 2?
Yes, yeah, that's what that's the I want to know how much deeper are we going into the Qigong over and above the level 1?
Well, I would say it's what I just shared with you with the Watching Clouds Pass, doing Tai Chi as Qigong, taking it, we'll be doing some drills that will be like Qigong, where we just repeat over and over and go deeper. And, you know, that's one way we will be going deeper into the Qigong as we go into our Tai Chi. Level 2 really is about learning the integral form. We'll be going into all the principles that are associated with Tai Chi, and many of those principles will also apply to Qigong as well. So those are a couple ideas. If anybody, the other staff has something else, Oli?
Sure. And this also speaks to one of the questions in the chat currently. So there will be a review of the forms that were taught in level 1, as far as the 9 phases of Qi cultivation, the 7 precious gestures, Buzhang Qigong. Those will be reviewed. They will be presented again, but we're not necessarily adding more Qigong forms specifically to that beyond the integral Tai Chi, the Tai Chi Easy, which is a 5 movement form, and the integral Tai Chi, which is a 9 movement form. those will both be presented in a Qigong type of way and a Tai Chi type of way. So you'll be able to kind of use those however you'd like, you know, as far as if you wanted more Qigong that way. But as far as are we presenting more Qigong specific type forms in this? Not necessarily. There will be what was presented in level 1 and then the integral forms. And Linda may have more to add and correct me about now.
No corrections, Oli. I was just going to give just a little offering that is in fact what Cynthia mentioned, and Oli. I definitely have taken aspects of the 9 form and done them like the sun and the moon in the sky. And I've used them as a Qigong set in my classes, and people love them. They can be very meditative. So even though you're learning the sequential structure, I really find it really enriches my Qigong classes, which I teach regularly. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, thank you for that, Linda, because I was going to say something along the same lines, is that part of the richness is the Qigong as Tai Chi and Qigong, and Tai Chi as Qigong. And so as we go deeper, as we learn the Tai Chi, we review all the principles of the Tai Chi, and that can help inform your Qigong. So I hope that sort of smorgasbord of answers at least gives you a little bit more insight as to what you might expect. In the interest of time, though, let's go into the next question from Sue. And please unmute.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I had such wonderful experience in the level 1 class, and I will be continuing this for as long as I am able to. But I'm also a yoga teacher and a Reiki master teacher and meditation, and I've got this huge array of things that I've been practicing for probably 40 years. I got back into my yoga practice a couple weeks ago, and I'd kind of just set it aside, and I recognized that as I was going through a lot of the poses and the postures, that the Qigong just flowed right into them. And so I'm just thrilled that I am seeing how that underarching energetic essence really is in everything, and I'm becoming more and more aware of it. So that's the comment I wanted to make.
Well, wonderful. Thank you, because that's beautiful, and that's kind of what it's all about, right? Oli mentioned the Tai Chi becoming part of your life. And so in our focus on the principles that underlie all the forms, it's an invitation to see how this can apply in the bigger context of one's life. And it's a pretty rich journey. Thank you, Oli.
Yeah, and if I could just add on to that too, this idea, like what you're speaking to, Sue, of how kind of the Qigong emerged through the yoga, and and really this idea of focusing on the principles that underlie the forms. And in that way, these forms start to become formless, and then everything becomes the form. And that's where then we start to really embody these practices. It's not something that we set aside some time to go and do, even though we may still do that. It just becomes a way of being, and it starts to inform everything that we do. And then everything that we do begins to inform our practice, and that becomes a Tai Chi. And so I think that's also just really a big focus of the whole IIQTC kind of teaching ethos is moving beyond the forms and finding that aspect that is formless or that is timeless, so that it is then just not a doing, but it is a being. And so thank you for that comment. I'm glad that you had that experience. It does come through even via Zoom. So that's wonderful. Thank you. And I'll head it back to Jennifer.
You
The
unmute.
old unmuted thing. Okay. I just did that so you could see my vulnerability and that we make mistakes too. Anyway, I don't see any other questions. And so actually, let's turn it over to Roger for our closing.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm just so impressed with the people at the IIQTC who make these events happen. So that's going to be the producers and the staff at headquarters. If you had, I don't know how to explain how much is contributed by the faculty, the producers, and the headquarters staff. It is a marvel. And one of the most important things is that the principles of personal cultivation show up in people who make their way through the IIQTC pathway towards being faculty and being involved in event administration. As you can see, there are like 6 of us, 7 of us that you can see right here today. And then there's also Rhonda at headquarters, and the amount of the magnitude of cooperation that goes into creating these events is not only stunning, but it is also, and I want to say however, or in addition, it is a reflection of why the IIQTC is considered to be among the more credible of the training institutions outside of China. So the fact that you've chosen to explore we say II as opposed to IIQTC just because it's shorter, your choice to explore the IIQTC curriculum and to consider joining and participating in the professional community of graduates who are teaching in communities all throughout the United States and even throughout the world. I have a meeting with somebody in Germany tomorrow that is one of our graduates. So it's not just the practice, it's not just the amazing people who make it possible for us to have these trainings. It's not just the deep and rich well of potential that we tap, not only through the practice and the principles, but also in the community of the professionals. But it's also something bigger. Something is trying to happen for the humans. And it has something to do with the whole idea of being more whole within oneself. Healing, of course, disease prevention, of course, stress mastery, of course, but also somehow like melding into the humanism that the humans have the potential to bring forward in a meaningful sort of way. And imagine being able to have an influence on culture beyond voting, literally by helping people to understand how powerful they are. It's a marvel. So with that, I'm going to ring this gong one more time, and I hope that I get the button right for so you can actually hear it. And then we'll be wrapping up. And you know, it's not long now until we gather for this training. And we here are all looking forward to having you with us. 3 intentful points of focus: posture, breath, and mind. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. For being
Yes,
here.
thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Bye, everybody. Take
Bye.
care. Hope
Thank
you
Feel free to
teaching.
reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much for your